Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach, and I believe the last time I was doing this, I started getting into what do I actually want to pass into Arg and arguments, and I actually did some work off screen. And I'm starting to come to the conclusion that I think I'm going to get rid of the whole Arg thing. And to explain what I mean by this is that this Arg, any Arg is, all this other stuff, I started realizing, do I really need this? Because as I noticed and I forgot is that you can use targeted value, target type new. So if you know what the type is going in, you can just say new this. Now, some people may not like that style, and I get it, but that's almost short. In fact, it is shorter than even saying arg is. And in fact, for the implicit conversion I have for just values, you could just pass in p value. I can't do that here because I don't generate that on these custom arg pointer things, which I'm going to do in a moment. But yeah, I'm kind of like sitting there going, I think this should just actually go away. And then you would pass in like you're doing here. You just say new. Well, yes and no. There is one problem I just realized is if you say is default, then there is no way to specify that. If we start opening up the constructors, then it becomes somewhat problematic because the shape of the arg here is how do I say this? I just realized that this is kind of a problem. You can do it for any is validate new, but if you pass in validation state, the problem is that now we allow them to see what validation state we wanted to pass in. And the whole point of the validation state is, if I do this, these are all internal, and we don't want people to actually pass in a validation state here. So, and I'm also thinking there's somewhere in the code where I'm not caring. It's without values. I don't care what it ends up becoming because it could be any. And then we would just say, well, in that case, whatever you pass in, it just becomes a new of that, and it doesn't matter. You would just say new of that, and we're just going to ignore what you do anyway. If you really want it to be the default value, then just pass in the default value here and just say default. And then with the implicit conversion, that might actually get it to be good. So before we add the, I'm going to do this. Let's just comment this all out so we make the world break. Okay. And then let's just see what's in here that's going to go all kerflooey. Nothing. If I do this, stuff's got to break now because we have this whole args test thing. Yeah, 57. Arg any. So here, what arg any is doing is just a new. So you would just say new. Now, the problem with this to some degree is that this is also a little bit unreadable because the arg any is literally saying, I want any argument. And these are the debates I'm having in my head. This actually reads better. If I do it like what I just had here, I'm literally saying arg any for the list. I don't care what it is. Of course, you're barking because you don't know what that is. Okay. But where this became a little bit of a problem is on these pointer tests because you couldn't do arg any. You're literally passing in here new. Okay. Do I start making static methods to say arg any on that custom pointer type, on that custom arg type? To say that, is it any value? We don't care. Do that. Is it of a specific value? And we do that. Is it of a default value? Do that. And we could actually do this because those are not generics other than the span. Because if you would have a method that would take a span of t, because the method is a t, then that becomes a little sketchy, because you now have to say arg blah 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 int any int, and it becomes kind of unreadable. But we're also talking about a case where it would start to become almost, yeah, I had to pause there for a second in my head and go, I think what I could do is for the span types, if you have an open generic, they would actually create a class like this along with it that doesn't have the generic and generates all the factory methods for you. And then you could use those. I do like what I did here in that I call these argument. I think that really speaks better to what it is. This is just convenience, you know. And in most cases, if you're saying it's literally this value, then you're good enough. Yeah, I'm spending a lot more time thinking about this than I originally anticipated, which is what it is. I definitely don't want to open up the constructors and just let target type new go through, because that actually looks weird. You don't new of what, which is fine. But I think the readability of saying arg is clear. It's just with these custom types, these custom argument types, are you really gaining anything by having, yeah, I I don't know here. I don't know. If I do this and I go to, it's arg for end pointer, and I go to that, that's up here. I love that you can bop around on these things. These are all internal. But what I could do is on these, because they're not generic, I could just put methods here that are factory methods, make these all private, and say like arg for end pointer any, arg for end pointer, you know, default, arg for, and then there'd be arg for end pointer, you know, validate, and then you pass in the valuation. And then I'd also put in the, all right, let's put down notes here, because I want to make sure that I'm, is a thing, should generate the implicit conversion method in the projected argument. All right, so for pointer arg, we're going to want to put factory methods there and make ctors private. Okay. Add conversion, implicit conversion. Because for most things, if you're saying it's literally this value, that's all you care about. For span, like span arg, it's really not span arg, it's really ref like. We should say that. Ref like arg. If the type is not generic or is closed, put factory methods there and make ctors private. If the type is an open generic, then I wonder if I have a static, if I got an extension method that says is iMethod symbol or iType symbol extensions dot. Yes, because this is only for one type, so we want to say is open, because I don't think there is anything like that right now. And so look and say if it's a generic, and then yeah. So if it's an open generic, now what would we do? We would want to put, I have so many pauses here. We could put the static factory methods on a different type, just like we're doing with arg, and then have them go to the custom type. The constructors would still be public though, so you would still be able to say new on them. And that makes, again, that makes this a little odd, because we don't want to do that. But we don't want to make them internal. We'd have to make them in a way such that somebody couldn't make them from the generated code, but they could still be made from within the generated code itself. The only way to do that is to make a type that is an argument that has a private class within it, and that's what the factory would produce for you. The type itself, the argument type itself, would not be generic, would contain a private ref-like argument t-type and have factory methods to create that type, that private type. And that way you could still reap the benefits, so to speak, of what you're trying to do. I think this would work. Maybe a little bit more clear here to say, because it's not arg, it's argument. I think I got a plan. Now I just need a deck of cards. Okay. So to do that, what the heck did I just... Whoa. What keystroke did I just do? Why are there... What? No, don't pin. That was bizarre. It like made two copies of something. I have no idea what I just typed. This is again where I want this feature in Visual Studio to say, what are the recent key bindings or keystrokes that you just did? And I know there's this tool that you can get that's outside just in Windows that will show you those things. I don't have that running, which may be why I should have that, but wow, that was a little bizarre. Okay. Come back here. Let's go into the builders. Let's go into create. And we're going to say pointer arg types. Okay. And we're going to say name of argument, because we want to be consistent. And I'm glad I made these methods like factory methods, because then I can just change this here and everything just falls by the wayside. But pointers, we cannot use generics, so this will be somewhat easier. So if I said the type is for pointers, put factory methods there, makes utors private. Okay, so we're going to want to mimic arg and evaluation. So this is making, yeah, these are making the constructors. Okay, so now we want the factory methods. And the factory methods we can have are, we just say any writer.write line except we're going to put here public arg name. Okay. Arg name any, and that does a new of this. So now we just made this private. Okay. Next one is going to be the one where we do the validation state. Why would we have had that as internal? That was a bad idea. Yeah, I don't even know. Do we actually even call this anywhere? Just internal arg name validation evaluation. Then we just say, we always state these. So I don't think there's a case where we actually come back and do this. So I don't think we're going to need that. Okay, so we need the one, though, that takes the value is, and then we say type name, value, and we say new value. And now that makes this private. And would we really need to say, because don't we make the whole class? Yeah. Like there's no reason to have these here if the whole class is, oh, it's because we don't. Unsafe. Whoops, nope. There we go. Okay, so now this will do private that, passes that in, and we're saying the right thing there. And then we need the delegate one. Okay, so we're going to do this and that. and that's a validate on predicate, except it's going to be validate on the validation delegate name, and that is going to be called evaluation, and we pass in a new evaluation, and that will end up calling this, which is now private. Privat. It's the Russian spelling. Okay, so we have any is validate. Do we want to default? I think that's where we pass in the state here. Yeah, so crap, I shouldn't have taken that away. Can you do a default on a pointer? I'm sure you could, but you know, it's good to test these things out. Could you say like int pointer var x is equal to default of int pointer? That'd be an int pointer. So you could, I guess. Let's put that here. So we'll say public static default, which takes no value, and this passes in a validation state default value. Okay, so we're gonna have to put the constructor back in, and we want to do name of that, name of validation state that. Okay, and then we have to put the constructor back in. Although I can cheat a little bit and come back up here and say for argument, yeah, you really just want to do this. Okay, so we do space and say writer dot write line that. Put another space there so it's all pretty. We'll make this private. Our name, name of validation state, and we have state validation state validation, and then we do validation. Okay, so that does the factories. Okay, and then we want the implicit conversion, and we are going to kind of want to do this. Okay, so I'm going to say writer dot write line, and then we're going to say restore at some point, and then we're going to print out a writer dot write line. Okay, and then we're going to say public set, boom, writer dot write line, all of this, except we're going to say here arg name, type name, there, and Bob's your uncle, and that's all you need to do. All these are private now. Yeah, and so the pointer one I thought was going to be a little bit simpler. The other one is going to be harder-ish, but we can do that in the next episode. Okay, so this looks all correct. We'll still have the is valid. We'll still have the private. What this will change, though, here is in the private test, is that we won't be able to do new here. Well, we will be able to say, though, just p-value, because I should convert it and everything should work. Same thing here. Okay, so let's do the shut it down and start it up again. Let's see how much we broke the world. It should only break if it does just for the pointer test, because this is the only time it comes into play. And we should see fairly quickly-ish, because it's going to start to bark and say, you can't do new there. And what are you doing? Yes, it failed, but where did you fail? Where did you fail? How did you fail? Why did you fail? You're not going to tell me why I failed? In excess, yeah, well, it's failing correctly in that it's just not showing it here. Okay, so hold on. Okay, my computer got a little, the fan kicked in. So this is actually true. So we want to say here, arg for int pointer is p-value, right? Oh, it's not It's not, again, it's not showing here, even though it should, because, you know, it should. We built all this to do that, you know. We can take the factory off of here, I guess. Public, those will all be private. These should all be generated. But we're not seeing that. So let's just come back over to pointer tests and say build, because it should be for arg name, and arg name is the actual unsafe class, CL class arg name. So that should work. Yeah, it's saying there's no is. Is the value. There be the value. So it's not refreshing. All right, so let's clear this. And then let's put in a test here. Create parent no return using implicit conversion. Okay. Because this should also work. Okay. It's not going to work right now because it's getting all confused. But we're going to close it down and start up again. Okay. And then hopefully this actually generates right. While I'm doing this, I should say that yesterday, from the previous episodes I just did, I was talking about doing my test. I did pass. It's one of those things of you're taking the test because they think you're there at that level anyway. So you get the belt before, and you know, I don't know if anybody's ever not passed, and I don't want to ask either if they haven't, but I would imagine if you just took the test and you just went to the dojo, or what I had to do was online in front of the camera, and you just sat there and did nothing, they'd probably be like, yeah, you're going to have to retake because you actually need to put the effort forth, you know, and show that you know what you're doing. So it was hard. It was actually, and I knew it was going to be hard because I've seen my son do the tests, but it was an hour long, and after about an hour, I was just sweat. I was just total sweat. And yeah, it was difficult. There's absolutely no doubt about that, because you're just, you know, you're punching. Even if you're punching at the air, you're doing all these moves and going around, and, you know, you just keep constantly, you know, he keeps you know, the test is also to really push you hard and get you to do everything you're supposed to be doing. Okay. Wow. We completely broke things. The name arg for int pointers does not exist in the current context. Are you kidding me? How? The arg for int, what? Argument for int pointer. Yeah. Well, arg for int pointer. Yeah, this doesn't work because it's not, although this should. But we can no longer get into the code because it's being a jerk. So unfortunately, I'm now in this world where it's just like saying, no, you can't do this. That succeeds, but then if I come over here and I say build this, of course you're not going to work because I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, it doesn't contain an expectation for methods, and on and on and on and on and on and on. You know what? Guess what we're doing? I'm going to try this trick. Use this one trick. Point 3 will surprise you. So now it should succeed because it no longer had to think about generating that. But now, let's put the first test into play. And you're still like, nope, I have no idea what you're talking about. Cannot do it. Completely unable to do. Remove unnecessary suppression. Oh, those are unnecessary? Oh, okay. Well, it said that you were supposed to do this. Well, I'm going to take them out of here too. Okay. All right. Well, fine. I can go with that. I just can't go with not generating code. That's a no-no. So what we're going to do is do the shutdown and start up again. And if that doesn't work, then I will go into the next episode with this somehow solved, because I know this should work. And then I will do another episode where we try building the rough-like types with this constraint in there, and try to build more pointer tests, some more span-like tests, and then I can finally, I think, get to the end of this, which is highly desirable because I want to get this out in people's hands. I feel like I was saying today, I think I'm the first mocking library in .NET to support pointers. And it's a small thing, although I was looking up, in fact, I think I can probably find it while we're waiting here. MOQ pointers. And there was how to mock this. Now this was asked like 14. The quick answer is not possible. And I don't think anything's changed up until maybe what Mach 5 is doing to allow this. If it does what I'm doing, then it's going to be, because I think MLQ is moving over to using source generators. So let's run this without this code in place, and it should work. And then we're going to put in the first test. Yes, it succeeds. Okay, so now what we're going to do is say that we're going to take that out. Okay. And again, you've completely died because you're an idiot. Wow, that doesn't make any sense how that does not work. So I'm going to do some digging and off camera, and then in the next episode I'll start with this actually working, because there's got to be something I'm missing. So thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.